It's your number. It's your number. I don't understand how to get it here. I'm going to try it again. Didn't say the right words yet.
Is anyone watching on the YouTube?
I am. I have it on. Anyone watching on the YouTube? Yes, surely is.
So you can see my screen?
I'm trying to get our recording started here. Yes, I see it.
Okay.
Shirley can see it. I don't know.
Okay, good. That's all I need.
Yeah. Okay, quick question. Nancy, did the recording tape? No, I haven't heard it yet. I'm going to sign on my phone.
Somebody's going to need to mute their phone. It's really horrible. Please mute your phones.
Really?
There you go. Thank you. Oh, okay. Good. Okay, we have people. No, hopefully they're seeing the screen. We'll see. So I have other people that are watching via YouTube and they're live. So if anybody has questions, you can ask them through your telephone, or you can, and please again, mute your phones.
The recording has started.
Okay, but mute your phones, please, because there is a lot of feedback. Okay. And then the other thing is you can all ask questions via YouTube if you want to. So if you have it clicked up on YouTube, you can watch questions or ask questions and I'll answer them. So I'll just get started. So I'm Joel Blackford. I'm the pastor of Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship up in St. Paul, Minnesota. We're virtual only. We were active, but then unfortunately we had 2020 and you know what happened during that year. So the phone number works if you'd like to contact us. The main thing is what I do is different than the other people. Oh goodness, let's hope this works here. Okay, click, yep, okay. So hopefully you're seeing the screen move. What I do is I look at the story behind the story. So everybody else looks at the news that's going on. One of my favorites is John Haller. He's a wonderful friend, great guy, great believer. He does the news and he does a great job. And he's probably the best news hound out there. I do the thought, what's going on behind? What's the philosophy? What do you think God's doing? Is he moving? And so I test out many different things, including prophecy, Bible, and news stories, and try to match them all together. Today is going to be solving the portion of Revelation that is the sixth seal and events after that. So leading up to it and after that. And so what you'll notice is that it's going to be very scientific. Just bear with it. Don't worry. It's all being recorded, so you can watch it again at some point in time. But we're solving a very difficult section, which is Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 through 17. And we're going to be talking about a mohair micronova, then another micronova after that. We'll have an extinction level event at some point in time. It's biblical. You'll see that in the fourth bowl. And then we will have a pole flip at some point in time. It's happened before. There are ways to do core samples on the arc zones and see these odd little core samples that show you that we've had pole flips before and it'll happen again. Now, if you're a young Earth person, not a problem. If you want to say that we're 6,000 years old, fine. That means that God built these things in for the scientists to discover. So doesn't matter. So basically what I'm telling you is it's biblical for us to go through these things that are coming. Right now, what we're noticing, especially since 2023 and forward, we're noticing a plethora of auroras, and they're being caused by activity from the sun. The problem is we have a magnetosphere, an ozone layer that protects us from this, from the photons and protons and things like that come in. Well, they're not doing very well anymore. So that layer is thinning. And so we have to deal with the fact that this is going to change everything for everyone. When you see the sun explode a CME or a filament or whatever it happens to be, 8 minutes later, you see the flash of light. Then the protons arrive 18 to 72 hours later. That will affect us in the sixth seal. You'll want to know those types of bits of information because you will need to go underground, as the Bible tells you to do. Each blast shakes our crust loose a little bit, but eventually it will really shake our crust loose. And that's Isaiah 24, where you will see horrific things happening in the crust and will literally, well, I'll show you the pictures and you'll be amazed. Okay, so once again, the auroras, it's a sign that things are wrong, that things are off in our world. We should not be seeing these extreme low level auroras on a regular basis. It just doesn't work that way. Biblically, it makes sense. Scientifically, it makes sense. But in terms of what we believe, in terms of if it's man-made or God-made or whatever else, it is God-made. Trust me on this. I could give you 100 verses that show that God is in complete control. So don't worry about that side. But in terms of the auroras, it's a sign of a leaky diaper, I call it. Okay. You don't need to sniff the kid when it's leaking out the sides of the diaper. Okay. So basically, well, there you go. There's the picture that you can see of the diaper. When we are in trouble, aurora record shatters as magnetic poles shift. The poles are shifting already a little bit. They've been moving. They're wobbling, to be biblical. Okay. And again, aurora invade lower latitudes. Earth is vulnerable, and we are. And it's going to change everything. As we've had high latitude auroras for years, now we're seeing more mid, and we're seeing many low latitude auroras. It's a horrible sign the diaper is overflowing. Okay. And so March from 2023, we had a magnetic anomaly. Then in April, we had a record storm effect. November of 2023, auroral record. May of 2024, impossible aurora. We're due within a few days. That's why this meeting is rather cool. Within a few days, we probably will have another uptick in the auroras. The sun will get active. It's been quiet for a few weeks here as we've gotten out of the Tishri month and then into now we're in Heshvan. Heshvan is the darkest of the months because this is when the Noah's flood occurs. And if you read 1 Kings 12, you'll see Jeroboam and Rehoboam and how wicked they both were. Jeroboam set up a false Sukkot. Well, that's starting actually today. That should be today. Okay, so just watch this week. Okay. Once again, we do the philosophy of the end of days. We try to give you the Bible accurately. We try to give you prophecy. We try to give you the news. Today, we're giving you science. So we're giving you the fourth piece all for free. So basically, this is the history of this. Scientists realized something was wrong back in 1859 on the 1st and 2nd of September. And Mr. Carrington in England observed this. And so what he observed was that the sun blew out a coronal mass ejection, a filament blew, and so it blew towards the Earth probably in an X40 or an X80 style. So you need to be aware of these two. We have C's, we have M's, we have X. X is the big ones. I don't get excited until it's an X. Okay. And an X can go all the way from ones way up to X100 and higher than that. And so basically, you need to be aware that when a C level solar storm occurs, I don't care. I mean, I notice it in my knees, but that's about it. When an M class comes through, maybe I went out and saw auroras after an M class, but there were many. Okay, so think of it if you're shoveling snow and you notice how it bunches up. Well, sometimes these storms bunch up and then you get a bigger aurora effect. Okay. And so I have seen auroras from an M class storm, but the X's, they could do a lot of damage, especially now. And I'll show you that in a minute. But basically, history started for this particular science. This, we'll call it setting up for the sixth seal in 1859 at the Carrington event. What occurred then was that this blast occurred from the sun and most of the telegraph lines were fried. So people would be sitting there typing away on their telegraph, and then suddenly their fingers would be scorched and they would be electrocuted. Okay. And so the power of the solar storm, the electrical power, came right on down the lines and just zapped people. Now, that was an extinction level event for that period of time. That would have taken down the grid completely. It's 1859. There is no grid. Okay. But they're starting to work on it. So it was a warning pre-electrification of what's going to occur. Okay. And so this will give you a hint of the sixth seal. So if you want to study it, you can go to the Carrington event and Oh, things are buffering. I'm sorry to hear that, John. Sorry. Okay. So basically, here's how things are going to work for you as you go forward. We're going to have localized severe weather now, and we're noticing it. You're noticing the storms all over the place. As these auroras are shown to you, you will see weather. So basically, what happens is the auroras push the electrical surge through, and then they kick off storms on our planet. So we notice sudden, crazy storms that are illogical. That's what you should expect. But then also, you'll have economic, political, and cultural turmoil. Yeah, I have multiple prophets, and you can watch my video from last night to discuss a little bit about, say, Dmitry Duduman from Romania or David Wilkerson or other people, how they have predicted civil war. Even the pundits, even the economic pundits are saying civil war is coming. So just get ready for it. At some point in time in the 2030s or 2040s, there will be a kill shot, that extinction level event that the Carrington event was like, okay? And that'll take out the grid. There will be one before that. So this is from Ben Davidson, and I'll be citing him frequently. Ben is a wonderful guy. He doesn't work directly with me. He knows what I do, and he's friendly with me. It's just that I have more of a specific Bible timeline. And whether you agree with me or not, you know these things are going to occur because they're biblical. I'm stating there possibly is a timeline in this, okay? And then at some point in time, you'll have a pole shift. It's happened before on the Earth. It'll happen again, and I'll show you slides that will describe that. I cite other people, so Wilkerson, Duderman, of course. Mark Biltz is a brilliant man, and he really got me started on the blood moon eclipses. And back in 2014, 2015, once again, Ben Davidson, who's brilliant, Armstrong. Martin Armstrong is a brilliant economics professor. And so he has his own computer system and things like that to track what's going on. The main thing is Armstrong is gifted to track what's going to happen. He is predictive. Nenner, Charles Nenner, the same way. He's a Jewish fellow from the Netherlands. They are predicting that we're going to have these types of things occurring, and they're helping to teach this to governments across the world. Okay, so this is Ben Davidson, Suspicious Observers, great guy. Puny space weather is driving huge storms. And he's telling you, and this is why you should be concerned about this, a bigger than biblical Earth disaster is coming. It's happened before. We can test it out through core samples again. And so we know these disasters hit. Suddenly, you'll have an animal on the North Pole eating fauna, and then they suddenly freeze with the food inside their bellies. Then 6,000 or 12,000 years later, you'll see the same thing again. It just keeps on turning and turning and turning. So we know what's going on with the Earth that way. Okay, so Ben has been on different shows. This is with David Whitehead. I don't recommend his particular channel because they'll bring on people like Robin Bullock, who is not a prophet. He's just kind of a musician that is busy. Okay, so Ben's statement here was expect planetary playoffs, then the cosmic Super Bowl, extreme weather, extreme shifts, ocean tsunamis, inundations, volcanoes, economic worries, job issues, no power, mental health issues, heart and electrical issues. Yes, whenever these things happen, I feel it in my knees, but you might feel it in your heart, or your friends might. So whenever we have a surge of electrical juice, we'll call it, from the sun, you will feel it in hearts. You'll see more heart attacks. And so whenever you see auroras coming, the time of the explosion, about 8 minutes later, and then through the time that it hits, 18 to 72 hours later, you'll notice more heart attacks and also mental confusion. Yes, you will see that. It would be difficult to think. Also, your fillings will hurt if you have a metal, especially. So then, united by cosmic signs, increasing prophecies. Okay, so this is Wilkerson. I want to cite a little bit from him just so you can see he's a true believer, wonderful man from 1973, The Vision. Weather will become increasingly difficult to forecast. Sudden storms will appear without warning. That sounds like what we're experiencing right now. Southernmost regions will be gripped by record cold waves. Northern areas will experience record heat waves. Airline pilots, and I have airline pilots that are friends, and they're stating this, they will be reporting the worst flying conditions in aviation history. The most intense hurricanes are coming. Many parts of the world face the most violent winters of all times. Europe faces the worst winter. I'll explain to you why Europe is in big trouble. It's the pole moving. They're literally being dragged towards the North Pole. Hailstorms. Large chunks of ice will fall from the sky and cause much damage. These storms will not only destroy crops and smash automobiles, but they will also cause the death of many people. You're seeing this across the world in all of these storms. And I'm not going to show you all the storms because it's too many now. I mean, literally on my Twitter feed, it's every other slide is a destruction someplace. Okay. Flooding, hail, tornadoes, cyclones, everything, hurricanes. Watch out for the reports of intense ice storms and hailstorms in the future. Also, prepare for the most severe winter of all time and record snowfalls. One more from Wilkerson. The United States is going to experience the not too distant future, the most tragic earthquakes in its history. One day soon, this nation will be reeling under the impact of the biggest news story of modern times. It will be the coverage of the most disastrous earthquake in history. I'm assuming that he's talking about the sixth seal. That will be a nasty earthquake, but then after that, we'll have more earthquakes. Especially, we'll have a huge earthquake when at the end we'll have the extinction level event where the earth shifts literally. And people like me that are living exactly on the 45th parallel will suddenly, within a week or two or a month, will end up on the 45th parallel south. Beginning of sorrows. Widespread panic and fear first. Yes, without a doubt. So this is Wilkerson from many, many years ago. Beginning of sorrows, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, hailstorms. Dudeman states it this way. He says, this is God's judgment sent to you to wake up and get you praying, get you back to faith, okay? So more than 1/3 of the United States will be designated a disaster area, just like you saw in Western North Carolina, okay? Nature will go wild. Floods, hurricanes, tornadoes will destroy crops, animals. You're noticing it, and wildlife will die too. Um, I'll show you some slides of wildlife dying from electrical shots. It's almost like a static electricity shot that's hitting them. Dudeman, civil war fomented by communists in the center of the United States. We're about ready to see that. Pundits and prophets are all saying the civil war is coming. Okay. So, John, I don't know why it's buffering. I'm sorry to hear that. I may have to re-record this. So, this is from John Paul Jackson. I had doubted him at first, but now I'm listening to him again, especially the 2008 Coming Perfect Storm. Wow, he nailed it. I may need to repent of it. Okay. So the main thing is John Paul Jackson states the coming perfect storms, jet streams will go wild. They are. Major weather shifts, droughts, water insecurities, climate change. Yes, we'll describe it that way. The problem is it's God change. Okay. And God is causing us to go into this time frame that we call revelation. And warming climate intensifies flash droughts worldwide. So you'll have droughts over here, floods over there. You'll have wacky weather, and you'll have crazy, like on the lower left-hand side, 835-mile-per-hour winds to get you from New York to Portugal. Okay, just amazingly fast. That's what's going to happen. And yes, I do have airline pilots that are seeing this and observing it. Okay, now this is something I'll show you more of this later on, but I just want to give you a taste of this first. Sound of Earth's magnetic flip 41,000 years ago. There have been cycles where the Earth just flips and moves, okay? And the crust moves from the core, okay? Down below here, 5% each. Okay, so Earth's magnetic field weakened significantly, dropping a minimum of 5% of its current strength, which allowed more cosmic rays to reach the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, so this has happened time and time and time again. And we can see it in we'll call it fossil records. So we know that basically we are at 100% as of 1859. Our magnetosphere was there at 100%. But by the time we got to now, we're at about 70% of our magnetosphere. And we'll get to about 5% when things flip. Just get ready for that. And that means UV coming through unrestrained. That means skin cancers, mental illness, all sorts of horrific things. And so you'll just have to prepare for these things and get ready for it. You'll need to find a good handy cave. Your basement could work that way too. So this is from NASA. They no longer report, but they did at this point in time. So this is up from 1859 to about the year 2000. They're saying globally in the blue, and globally, the magnetic field has weakened 10% since the 19th century, since Carrington event, okay, when they started to check these things out. So they knew the magnetosphere was thinning, down 10% from 1859 again to 2000. Continuing on, ESA, European Space Agency, is saying as of about I can't remember the exact year of this. And by the way, they put these up for us to be aware of them, then they took them down and they've never put them back up again. So it's very difficult. We were able to snip them and copy them, but otherwise, you know, they don't want us to know that they're screaming fire in a crowded theater. So it's biblical. So in the blue up here, upper over the last 150 years, Carrington, the magnetic field has lost about 15% of its strength. So now we know for sure it's gone down 10%, then down 15%, but that means it lost 5% in only 10 years. And we're saying it's going down faster now, too. So basically, 10%, then 15%. Now it's about 25 to 30% drop in the magnetic field. So this is 25%. It's increasing 1 to 2% per year. Over the last 150 years, the magnetic field has lost about 15%. So Berkeley News is citing that. So we see these reports coming out there. This is biblical. This is okay. So if we were in Isaiah 24, this would be the lattice or the sluice or the floodgates of heaven. Okay. But it's also found in Revelation too. So it's not just one source, but basically that would be like I own a dam and I don't want my dam to break. So I create it so that it can release some of the pressure from the water, like sluices, like floodgates, like whatever it is. Okay. That's also found with Noah, that God opened up these floodgates of heaven in Revelation, or rather in Genesis 7, you'll see that occur. And that is the Noatic flood. So he released it from underneath the ground and from above, and all the floodgates occurred and opened. And so that's what's kind of happening right now with our magnetosphere. It's weakening. And that means you'll just notice more. Also, you'll have things like this, which is according to the European Space Agency back in 2019, there's a South Atlantic anomaly. So if you have friends that are flying over South America, and I do have one friend that is a steward on American Airlines going through South America constantly, very dangerous people, very, very dangerous to fly down there. That means that you're getting the full impact of the UV. It hurts your eyes. It confuses you. It is horrific when you have a wide open hole. That will happen more often in other areas, and it'll move at times too. So the other thing is, if you raise chickens, you know this already, that as the UV intensifies, it negates the power of infrared heat and light, and chickens need about 16 hours a day of infrared light. Well, they're not really getting it anymore. So if you're raising chickens, you're noticing your egg production is down and the chickens aren't as healthy. Well, that's because UV is so overpowering right now. So it affects animals, especially, the production of eggs and things like that. You'll just notice it within animals. They notice it more than we do. So what's happening is the solar and the UV particles are penetrating deeper and deeper and deeper, deepening of radiation belt particles in South Atlantic anomaly region, a scenario over the past 120 years. So they're all tracking back basically to the Carrington event. That's when we started modern history of the cosmos. Weakened magnetic field is pushing radiation belt particles towards the Earth in the South Atlantic anomaly. Yes, absolutely. It's getting closer and closer and closer in certain areas. Okay, so this has been again Ben Davidson. So once again, 1859, 100%, 2000, 90%, 2010, 85%, 2020, 75%. He's guesstimating we're at the 70% ratio right now. And it seems to be logical. If we ever get a situation where we could talk to, well, actually, the weird thing is the NASA guys are coming over to Ben's side. They see it. Some of them are literally freaking out because they don't believe in God. Can you imagine going into a revelation event and not believing in God? It would be horrific. You would be literally catatonic on the floor. You need God to get through this. You need God's spirit. And so basically the signs coming up, according to the scientists now too, we have 49 on our side right now, and this is all covert. They cannot say this openly. Great earthquake. There will be a solar mohair micronova. I'll explain that. Don't worry. I'll show you the text. A blood moon eclipse will coincide with that micronova. Meteorite shower, magnetosphere thinning. We'll all run to caves. It's survivable. I'm guesstimating about a 4-month recovery, about 150 days at the max. Cosmological disasters will follow after that. And One little thing that proves this right: the weather in Europe is changing. Have you noticed the Spanish and Portuguese floods lately and storms? It's being pushed up by this as the Earth is shifting and the poles are moving. You'll notice things like this: the ITCZ. So that is the oh goodness, I can't read it on here. The Intertropical Convergence Zone. Okay, it sits at 20 degrees north latitude. That's about 152 miles further north, and it should be on that side of the Earth going north. And by the way, by the time we're done, India will be in the North Pole, and once again, I will be on the 45th parallel. Parallel south. Okay, I'll literally move that far. Okay, and I'll see a different set of stars at night. So you'll see these floods occur just a little bit more north now, and that's going to be weird for Spain and Portugal as it moves north. Okay, 3 times, 4 times more moisture, pole shift pushing the ITZ north and the rivers. This is Isaiah 43:1. It's very interesting. So if you want to, you can look it up yourself. But that Isaiah 43:1 does talk about these desert areas blooming, and they're starting to bloom. It's going to be bizarre. Okay, so once again, we can see this. So Major White, Ken White, but Major White was the dad, and this is the 30s, 40s, 50s. He was out checking out the sediment layers, and he said there are 12,000 years of sediment each, and it goes from polar fossils to tropical, to polar, to tropical. So if you're in the North Pole and you do the core sample, you'll see it polar, tropical, polar, tropical, polar. It just goes back and forth and flips about in 12,000 year increments. Okay. And Ben cites this, but what was the name? The story behind the discovery of the imminent global change. I'm blanking on the name of the book right now, but basically it's Major White, Edward White, and then his son Ken that talked about this. And so the cycles that we seem to see are Vostok 60,000 years ago, Lachamp 48,000 years ago, Mono Lake 36,000 years ago, Lake Mungo 24,000 years ago, Gothenburg 12,000 years ago. There was a China event 6,000 years ago, but now we're expecting the Earth to do this because it's always done this every 12,000 years. So according to the notes on the right-hand side in the yellow, the South Pole has already left Antarctica, and the North Pole is racing towards the Arctic Ocean. Okay, the Earth's magnetic poles are getting ready to flip. This is from SWARM ESA again, European Space Agency. The magnetic field began weakening in 1600. Really, it hit in 1859. It weakened again 10% from 1800 to 2000. Earth's magnetic field was weakening 5% per century. Now it's 5% per decade. Magnetic field is continuing to weaken rapidly. Magnetic reversals can occur in less than 100 years. Magnetic reversals lead to extinction level events, ELEs. It's been confirmed by the #1 geophysics journal. So there are many scientific sources seeing this. It's just too many things are happening very, very quickly now. It's speeding up, as you know. Magnetic reversals can cause biblical floods. Now, it's not going to be a Noah's flood. It's going to cause sloshing. So just go ahead and take your coffee cup in front of you and push it back and forth, wobble it a little bit, and you'll see how the water goes up one side, then up the other side. That's the slosh effect. That's what's going to be the flooding. Okay. So once again, I said that's me. I'm at the 45th parallel right now, but you can see where I will be. So I'm in Minnesota, and I literally live within blocks, not blocks, but within feet of the 45th parallel. I will end up 45th parallel south. This is where we expect me to be when this occurs. So on the equator, then that'll be the North Pole and Greenland and things like that. Okay. And the North Pole type things that you would assume would be there, they'll be on the equator. Very interesting. Russia will at times freeze. India will completely freeze. India will be in the North Pole, right on top of it. Okay, so parts of India, Asia will move towards the North Pole. That will be the dangerous place to be. And Europe is going to be perplexed. They won't know what to do because Europe has gone godless over the last 150 years. And even if these things occur and everyone admits that God's involved with it, will they repent? I don't know if you can get much repentance out of Europe right now. And we bless people like John Wesley and they prayed down slavery 150, 200 years ago. Well, not so much now, 200 years ago. Okay, so new poles near India and near South America. So if you're a South American, you're going to be on the South Pole. If you're from India, you're going to be on the North Pole. This seems to be the cycle of how it goes every 12,000 years. So this is what to expect. And you can see part of Western Africa is going to be on the equator. It's going to be a different world, and you'll have to survive through it somehow. So basically, this is a different view of it. It's a little bit more complex, but basically, South America will be on the South Pole, and then India will be on the North Pole. And that's what we can expect to see as the poles move. And we're starting to see that occur. First, the poles will wobble, then they'll move. And what you need is a lot of energy to move the poles. And it's going to happen, and it's biblical. Okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. You can see how the North Pole was racing towards North America, but now it's wobbling and moving back towards Russia. Okay, and then you can see that we are rotating, and we have that angle. We have about a 20-degree angle there going on, and that gives us our seasons. Well, that's going to shift, and just get used to it. This is Isaiah 24. Okay, so you should see things like this in the meantime. You should see confused penguins venturing towards Australia, and they just did. That's a king penguin in Australia. What's he doing up there? He's hungry, he's tired, there's no food for him, nobody loves him. He's just a weary little penguin, but he was magnetically disrupted. And this migration is up to that area because that's what he has magnetite in his nose, like most animals do. They have a higher level of magnetite. So that's why when these magnetic occurrences happen, these animals will be confused and die and go to the wrong locations and do stupid things because that's what their nose is telling them to do. They are programmed by God. They have a nephesh, we call it in the Hebrew, and that nephesh will tell them to do a thing based on their program. But the problem is the world is going to change, and you'll see animals dying off and then completely dying off, especially the sea life. And that's because of the magnetic barrage and the pole shift and things like that. So way off course, Emperor Penguin swims to Australia, explores web. One of the theories behind the penguin's journey was that it was following a strong current. No, this is confusion of its internal compass, and that's what's happening. So you should see those types of things. Once again, the bird is lost magnetically, according to Ben Davidson. Once again, the story's there. And so you can see how the penguin just is following its internal compass up to Australia from south, from the Antarctic. So once again, it makes sense in terms of the magnetic dynamics of what's going on right now. So this is Ben Davidson again, just so you can see what he's working on. He's basically already bunkered out in the mountainous region of Colorado. He says, hide in a cave up high in the mountains, because that's really the only way to get through this as it gets bad. You have to be, caves are critical in the sixth seal. You'll see that as we get there. We're almost there. At some point, Earth's weakening magnetic field will weaken so much that the planet will not be able to sustain even a moderate disruption in the solar wind. When that occurs, the grids will go down and there will be no more power. So expect that. That's biblical, believe it or not. And the sun continually ramps up toward micronova. There will be two micronovas. Okay, one's the mohair, and then the second one will be a kill shot. And the Earth's magnetic field continues to weaken. Cosmic radiation will bombard the planet. So expect more cosmic radiation. There's no doubt about that. It's already occurring, especially in the South Atlantic anomaly. Will bombard the planet more and more. At some point, the solar system will enter the point where the galactic magnetic reversal occurs. The sun will go dark for 3 days. Yes, that is a Catholic prophecy. It's very odd, but it does work. And it's also biblical. That is during Egypt. The sun went dark for 3 days. So expect that going into this. And I'll explain more when I show you the slide. Followed by a micronova, and then the planet will go twist. Okay, that will be the energy that drives the twisting of the planet. So why does this matter to you? One, because the sun is going to awaken in the next few days here, and you'll see more auroras. That's what we expect based on the cycles. But also, you're going to start seeing the Mark Biltz blood moon eclipses. And keep in mind, Mark was the first one to find this. God's spirit led him to find this. He's a great researcher. He's a great human being. He's never predicted any rapture dates. He's never predicted anything prophetically other than he knows war is coming. But every pundit says that too, whether they believe in God or not. They know civil war is coming and problems, because you can't have this much debt and not have problems. So we have blood moon eclipses coming up. The first one will be 3/13 and 3/14 of 2025, then 9/7 of 2025. So we've gone through a long phase now of no blood moon eclipses. And when I read the verses to you, you'll see how you have to have both things occurring. So thank God that Biltzy came out and told us in 2008 that blood moons matter, especially on the feast days. So these are not feast days. 3/14 would be Purim, of March, and then 9/7 would be Elul, the month setting up Tishri. So both of those are preparatory months. One, to set up for Passover and the time frames that matter with Passover. Then the second one would be setting up for the fall festivals. I have prayed about that. I have an answer that it seems like it's going to be next year, that something big is going to happen, but I don't know which one of the two. The reason why I have D's after each one is that the Deagle report is saying there will be a major depopulation event in 2025. And that's coming from other sources than just Deagle. The next one after that is 2026, 3/3. That's a pack of three. Then the next one would be a long gap to 2028, 2029. Then a pack of four of them in 32 and 33. Based on other things going on in the world, I would say that we would get started sooner, not later. But that's our pack of them, and then there'll be a huge break after that. They should occur a blood moon eclipse should occur every 18 months. Well, when you see packs of them, that's a sign from God that something's occurring. It is a warning. It's a biblical warning from Joel 2 and from Revelation 6 and other places like that. Now, down below, you can see the sun as it's yellow, then it turns to white, then it turns to red, then it turns to black. If the sun is turning this, believe it or not, the sun's already turned white. Okay, the sun that you're looking at, if you're 66 like I am, you've seen yellow suns when you were a kid. The sun is very whitish right now. When you see the sun going red, that means that dust is occluding the sun. And that is, I'll show you the scientific slides in just a moment to see that. So basically, then it will go black 3 days before a blood moon eclipse. And they would coincide so that you'd only notice the blood moon eclipse because the sun would be so black. And so that is biblical, as I mentioned, with Moses, and also with Catholic prophecies too, which is interesting, So be aware that the cycle starts up again in 2025. And there are other reasons why 2025 is rather significant. My friend John Haller states it this way: everything is accelerating and converging, and you know it too. You know it in your spirit, you know it overall, just because Jesus is returning. Whether you want him to return or not, he's going to return, and things are going to accelerate and converge. So this is your next cycle starting on Purim of 2025. Okay, so once again, you should be able to see things occurring. And so what I want you to be aware of is that it may be biblical, but it's observable too. And so these are signs, and I'm the signs guy, so you should be able to see the sun kick off a CME, a filament should explode. And then you should be able to see the auroras, and they're rather beautiful, especially if you're out, in the space to watch it, like this guy was. And then you'll see within a few days after that, you'll see this electrical discharge in the storms as the plasma penetrates our ozone layer. And then, so the storms just kick off and go crazy. Then you'll notice some earthquakes. These are all signs of the sixth seal, but they're also signs of what's occurring from the sun. And it's all being driven by God and the sun prior to Yeshua's return. These are warning signs. Wake up, Jesus is returning. The magnetic anomaly down there, the South Atlantic anomaly, is huge and growing, and you'll see more of those popping up. And then eventually you'll have the world turning over. And so you'll see the poles shift. Okay. So now There are many signs of the ends. I have 150 signs. Ben Davidson has 100 signs of just what's related to the sixth seal. Okay, so you'll see more low-level auroras at times, spontaneous electric storms, and a week later, usually, then earthquakes about a week or so after that. The sun is driving this. Okay, and so these storms are going to cause more things to occur that are observable. Okay, and you'll just need to learn the types of storms and what the various numbers mean and things like that, because it'll matter to you. When will a kill shot occur? What are the signs of it? You need to be aware of that so that you can prepare yourself in your basement or in a cave someplace so that you can get ready for what occurs in the sixth seal. So it is coming. Even if you disagree with me with my timing or my patterns and things like that, the Bible is true. These things are coming. I'm just making them more relevant and observable. So, Earth King discern. So, this is Revelation 6:12 through 13. Once again, I want you to be aware that the sun would then be moving along through the yellow to white to red to black, then Micronova. But it's different here in this first one. It's not a full extinction level event. It is a sackcloth. It's trichonos in the Greek. I'll just read it to you. Then I watched as he broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. That is going to be a micronova that unlocks the crust that causes that earthquake to occur. Now, it doesn't say this earthquake is going to kill us all off. It's more of a warning shot, people. It's more like, hey, people, you need to start repenting. And as you read the verses with me, you'll see that God is causing us to repent during this time frame. So the micronova would occur just a little bit, and that would cause the earthquake. The sun turned black now it's not an eclipse. It's the final stage of this micronova. And it's called as sackcloth, but basically it's called sakkos trichonos in the Greek. Sakkos would be sackcloth. Trichonos would be. So keep in mind, John is writing in Patmos, which is really close to Turkey, and the best, not lambs, but the best goats for beautiful wool is going to be the mohair goats, the Angora goats that produce this beautiful fluffy. So John is giving you a physics term in chapter 6, verse 12 and 13. He's talking about sakkos trichonos. So it'll be sackcloth, no doubt about it. It'll turn black, but it'll be trichonos. It will be a light, fluffy coating of dust. So thank you, John, for great physics. So it'll be layered like shiny goat's hair, Angora or mohair, worn in mourning. So we do know that this is a time for repentance because we're about ready to go into that tribulation time frame. Yes, there will be 3 days of darkness, and the full moon became blood red. That I have friends that keep on telling me, no, that is going to be where the moon is up in the sky and you'll have smoke on the earth and the smoke will cause it blood. No, we know what this is. This is a full moon. This is specific to a day and a time. And I'm saying that would be Adar 14, Purim, March 13th and 14th of 2025 sets up the next cycle of this possible coexistence between the sun and the moon, giving us signs at the exact same time. Then you note the stars fell from heaven. That will be the dust event. So as this micronova occurs, you will see stars is kind of vague in the Greek. So it's Astarte. That could be dust coming in and be rather beautiful, or it could be literally a star coming towards us. This is a warning shot, people. It will be a dust event. And it describes them as a fig tree drop. So these are little tiny things. So it'll be beautiful, but it'll be frightening because you know that you're very close to going into the tribulation. So the stars fell from heaven to the earth. That's a micronova dust accumulation event. Just as a fig tree drops, it's bitter winter timing figs. So you can tell based on that time of the year, it's the winter time, which would be March. Figs that are shaken by a strong wind. Okay. And then this happens to be from 1833. So if you wonder why people got excited about the end of days, say the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Millerites, which turned into the SDAs, they were all basically in upstate New York, and God allowed them to see this meteorite shower. And so they truly believed as of 1755 that the Great Lisbon earthquake was that sixth seal earthquake. This was the star shower, which then led them to believe that Jesus was returning in 1843 and 1844. Well, they were wrong. And so the Millerites, the Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses all saw this in that region of upstate New York. And it was gorgeous, but it wasn't Jesus returning. Here we are 100 years later. So once again, that's a little pretty little goat there that shows the mohair look and the Angora look. Okay, so it'll be fluffy. That's what John is describing to us. So once again, Nova. We've known about Nova for years. This is from March 2004. So we know that this is literally possible, that there can be novas. We're observing them all over the cosmos as we get these incredible observatories set up on satellites and other places. So this is 2004. They know that there are nova-like blasts of these suns, these stars out in the cosmos. Okay, so continuing on, the sky receded like a little. That in the Greek, that would be biblios, I think it is, or biblion, and that would be a Megillah in the Hebrew. That would be a smaller scroll. It would not be a big scroll, a little scroll. So the sky is going to recede, and that is Isaiah 24. That's that sluice that I mentioned, that floodgates situation where things just leak through from the cosmos into our earth. Okay, so the sky will recede like a Megillah, like a small scroll. It's not worldwide, being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved. Not that far, but they will be moved from its place. And so don't be in Southern California, or the worst place during this time frame would be the Cascadia fault zone up near Oregon and Washington. That'll blow, or even for that matter, be very careful if you're sitting around the New Madrid fault line in Missouri on the Mississippi there. That blew in 1811, 1812, and it was horrific for that time frame. That would have been an extinction level event for those people if we had St. Louis the way it is today. Okay, not far, but they'll be moved. Every mountain and island will be moved, maybe inches, but everything will move. Then the earth's kings and rulers. So this is interesting, people. This means everybody knows, everyone. Earth's kings, rulers, generals, the rich, the mighty, indeed, everyone, slave and free, hid himself in caves and among the rocks and the mountains. When this occurs, everyone will be aware that God is causing this. This is Revelation 6:14 through 15. There will be no blaming global warming or man-made or anything like that. You're going to know this came from God. And said to us, and said to the mountains and the rocks and the bunkers, because they'll be in bunkers at that point in time, fall on us, hide us from the face of the one sitting on the throne. That's the Father, okay? And from the fury, orge, of the Lamb, that's Yeshua. This is proof that the rich and the poor will be aware of the sixth seal. They will give honor to God and the Son for a moment, for like 10 minutes or so. And then they'll go back to their whatever they do, which is ignoring God. For the great day of their fury, orge, has come, and who can stand? Now, my eschatology is different than other people's. I state that this is a warning sign that then takes you into the trumpets and the bowls, and they occur during the final 7 years. I'm stating that we're literally on the doorstep of seeing the sixth seal. And I can go through again. So the first seal is the fall of Western civilization based on Zechariah 6 directions. Okay, and the West is falling. You can argue with what I think it is, but you can't argue with the fact that, yeah, the West is falling. It literally doesn't believe in God anymore and doesn't believe in family or mom or dad or any of those things. The West isn't populating, okay? We aren't making babies anymore, and we aren't raising our babies properly, and so the West is falling. The second seal would be the Bush family and people like that removing peace, snatching peace from the earth. They went over and they called it nation building, but it was really just grabbing oil wherever they could find it. And they set off this hornet's nest back in 2001 after 9/11 that allowed them to go and invade and just cause hellish problems to occur across the world. And they really set up where we're at right now, which is the world is angry, and they kicked the hornet's nest. The third seal is rapid inflation, and it's felt by the poor people. The rich people are going to laugh at it because they're a billionaire. Who cares? But the poor people are noticing inflation. And Trump is a speed bump. That's all he is. It's going to come again. Okay. So don't pray and worship to Trump. Pray and worship to your Father and his Son and in his Spirit. So basically, The beast system is coming. And so then you'll hit the trumpets and the bowls after that. So this is Revelation 6, and this is what, in my eschatology, sets up the final 7 years. Okay, so once again, there are many signs. Ben has 100 signs that he's tracking at any point in time. This is some of my 150. So coinciding cosmic Earth signs, great earthquakes, this mohair micronova, which seems to be setting up right now. We'll talk about the galactic current sheet in just a few minutes here. That's the dust sheet coming through. Okay, blood moon eclipse that coincides with the micronova. Meteorites would fall, the sky holes. I mean, these are all some of the things that I track. 150 things that I'm tracking at any point in time. Mental disorders, pole shift eventually sets up, the start of that pole shift. Regardless of timing, it'll all occur eventually. All rich and poor will hide in caves from the anger, the wrath of the Lamb. Then you'll see the sudden storm extremes. At some point in time, you would see the 144,000 sealed from each tribe. There will be a time after that of silence in heaven for a half an hour. You'll see incense. You'll smell the incense, probably thrown towards earth. You'll hear the thunders, the sounds, the earthquake, the lightning. Is this a Shemitah year? Is this a Jubilee year? Biltz argues that it will be. I don't know. But I'm telling you that you're starting to come into the next phase of this right now in 2025. And I don't know. Bless you, Joel. I accept that. Thank you. Yes, from Kimberly. So basically, Elon Musk factors into this too. I want to be nice to the guy because he's helpful at times, but according to friends of Elon and family members, he will present the mark of the beast. And so during this time frame, he'll know he's getting information from the other side, the other spiritual side. Okay, he has since he was a child. Okay, for some reason, he's always had the hookup to the other side, the dark side. And so he'll have the satellites up there. Those are all of Elon's and other satellites across the earth right now. He'll be aware with a Starlink that everything will come down, but he will be the first one back up again because he can launch better, faster, quicker. And so after what I'm saying, and I'm not prophesying, I'm just saying it's logical because this is not an extinction level event coming up. This will be more of a 4-month event, maybe 150 days. That's rather biblical. Okay. But the main thing is 4 months, 6 months, somewhere in that time frame, you will see Elon getting satellites back up. And so your cell phones will work. And the grid may not work so well, but you'll be able to charge your phone. So if you had a solar powered charger for your phone, you would be able to get back connected again and find out what your family is doing, And so you want to be able to charge your phone. And I don't have my charger handy right now. It's about 5 feet away from me, but I have a solar powered charger ready to go whenever this occurs. And that means that I know I'm going to be down. Now, you realize what happens to people when the electricity grid goes down and the world shuts down for 4 months or so. It's going to go nuts. So you're just going to have to prepare for it. But Elon knows these things are going to occur. He will be the king of the earth. He's already there, But when he sets his satellites back up and allows us communication, he will be anointed at that point in time to do what he's going to do, which is create the beast system or the mark of the beast and possibly the image of the beast. He's real close to that. His Neuralink is part of the mark of the beast. Okay. All right. So he will lose his satellites quickly during this sixth seal, but then he'll put them back up again. It doesn't seem to bother him at all. It's happened before. I watched this in 2022 or 2023, where he just had tons of satellites knocked out, and then suddenly, so he lost 212 of them on September 18th. Between July 18th and September 18th, as the storms got bad, this is 2023. There you go. He just threw more up there. He's ready to go. It doesn't phase him at all because he knows what's going to occur. Okay, so trackers observed the significant spike. Yeah, so they know the spikes are coming. He knows what's happening with the sun. Whatever I know, he knows more. And so he's preparing for it. He will be one of the first people to launch again and provide communication. So he'll be a hero. Okay, now we're going to get to this, and then we'll take a little bit of a break. So this is the dust sheet. So think of it as a spiral coming through our cosmos, okay? And it's coming at us. And so you'll see dust on Pluto, but not on Saturn, then on Saturn, but not on Uranus. So the bottom line is think of a Swiffer duster, okay? Think of that as we go forward. that you'll notice static electricity causing the dust to stick to the sun and planets. And we're already seeing it. We know this galactic magnetic current sheet is coming through. It's just a fact. Sorry, but it's there in the sixth seal as it comes through and includes the sun and then causes it to micronova in a mohair way, okay, fluffy. And I argue that it's going to be a mohair micronova because you will not have a full attraction of dust to the sun that would include it in a horrific way, in the ELE way. What you'll notice is more of a minor, as I call it, a mohair micronova. Okay, and so then as the sun goes into its phase, so it's got the solar maximum, solar minimum. We're at maximum right now, and we're really in the top phase of that, where the sun is so active that dust can't stick to it very well. When it's solar minimum, you will have more dust sticking to the sun, and then you will have the fourth trumpet, which is where the sun and the moon and the stars are occluded by a third. Okay, and then moving along through the time frame, the fourth bowl, and you will see a full occlusion of the sun, and then you will have the extinction level event. You will need to be someplace significantly safe at that point in time. Probably the Antichrist will be ruling at that point in time, and so you're not going to be able to just run out and say, "Hi, how you doing?" Okay, you're going to have to hide. You're going to have to bunker up for about 3.5 years, but definitely after this fourth bowl launches, because it'll knock the world into Mad Max. Okay. All right, so just get ready for it. This is biblical, people. Whether you disagree with timing or my sequences, it's still biblical. It still makes sense. These events will occur. Okay, so electromagnetic pulse, that is the kill shot that happens because there were two temporary. First one was temporary. This is from Rebecca Sterling. So I interviewed her twice. She's dead now. Wonderful lady, good believer, messianic believer out of Tennessee. And so she, in her videos here, especially this one called Living in the Basement, you can find this to this day for free. David Strode, A Voice Crying in the Wilderness. So she has these dioramas, she calls them, which is these various scenes that she was shown, and she's shown the players, and all the players are existing today. And I talked about who the Antichrist was with her, and she said, I can't tell you because it'll hurt people if she said who he was. I have a strong guess, but I'm not going to tell you who it is because it isn't helpful right now. And also things change. Okay, so what might be the Antichrist of Hitler's time might not be the Antichrist of Henry Kissinger's time. And Henry was kind of an Antichrist against his own people in 1973. So once again, two EMPs she saw. The first one was temporary. The next one was permanent. That's biblical. That's the sixth seal is temporary. The fourth bowl is permanent. Okay, and so that would take years to come back from. That's biblical. That's Ezekiel 38:39 too. So just get used to it. We'll need to replay. Yes. So basically, what you're getting ready for is two EMPs. The first one is temporary. The second one's permanent. So not only am I telling you it's biblical, so I can cite the Bible, I can cite Rebecca Sterling, but also Ben Davidson is noticing these things occur too. And also the scientists are agreeing now. They're seeing these things. They know there's just too many factors that have happened too many times in the cycles of the earth. Okay, so once again, let's look through the verses. The sixth seal, you've read through it all. You know it's the earthquake, it's the black sun, it's the moon to blood red, it's the stars falling from the sky. It's many of those types of scenes, okay? But then Revelation 8:12 is the fourth trumpet. The fourth angel sounded the shofar, and the third of the sun was struck, and also a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, and a third of them were darkened. I'm saying by dust. I'm saying that's the most logical thing because the current sheet is coming through. It will cause the first one. It'll cause then the fourth bowl, or trumpet rather, and then the fourth bowl also. But the fourth one, okay, will be the fourth one poured out his, I'm saying, dust bowl on the sun, and it was permitted to burn people with fire. That's a major kill shot, Micronova. People were burned by the intense heat if they cursed. So basically, he's pouring dust on the sun. It occludes it, and then it blasts out this kill shot. And people will be then burned by the intense heat. They will curse the name of God. That's too bad. That's a stupid thing to do. It's better to bless God because Yeshua is coming right after that. Okay, who had the authority over these plagues. So once again, every single time in the Bible, God is involved in every single situation, especially now. You can sense that he's driving the bus. You can feel it now. Whereas you couldn't necessarily say that 50 years ago. No, there's no doubt he's driving the bus. Okay. Who had the authority over these plagues instead of turning from their sins to give him glory. So once again, you've got the dust cloud coming through and occluding in a micronova, but it's only a mohair one first. Then the fourth trumpet is a third of everything is occluded in our sky by dust. And then the major kill shot occurs at the end. You will need to find a safe zone by that point in time. Okay, and so what other source do I have that kind of proves this to occur? Well, we're seeing the magnetosphere thin. It's been going along at 100% since 1859, and now it's dropping, dropping, dropping. And I'm telling you that the sixth seal occurs probably sooner than later, and then the sixth bowl, or not the sixth bowl, it's the fourth bowl would occur. Sorry, that's a typo. I'll have to fix that. Would occur then about 6 to 7 years later after that. Okay. And so it's the dust that's going to cause this. So Ben says that magnetic anomaly or auroral records, unexpected KP, all these things, we see it scientifically. We're measuring things and realizing this is all coming. The magnetosphere will thin. That will allow more UV through. That will cause the solar storms to just destroy us even more each time. And it'll get successively worse as we move along. So 90% certain in the 2040s, 10% chance in the 2030s. Ben is changing that. He thinks it's now the 2030s more. Okay. So, and that matches up with other things. So once again, you're saying, prove to me that there's this heliospheric current sheet, this magnetic dust current sheet that's heading through. Here you go. This is from, oh goodness, let's read it up here. My eyes aren't that good. July 29th, 2024. Okay. And this is from astronomy and astrophysics. Once again, this is crying out fire in a crowded theater. They're saying this is going to come through. It's going to occlude things. And so it's wavy. It's rather pretty when you look at it in the picture, but it is coming through. There's no doubt about it. And this is the 60th confirming report of this particular dust current sheet coming through. And it will occlude planets and sun and things like that, and it will cause that micronova, those micronovas. Okay, once again, higher amplitude. This is all due to bunching up as it moves out. Okay, so you'll just notice that there will be greater amounts of dust at times and lesser at other times. And it's pretty much the finger of God directing how it works. Like the ocean, the interstellar medium is full of turbulent waves. The largest come from our galaxy's rotation as space smears against itself and sets forth inundations tens of light years across. So you're just going to notice the dust coming through. This is logical, it's observable, and it's scientific, and it backs up the Bible. So there you go. And this is, it kind of shows you how it's moving through. So you'll see it over at the sun and maybe at another sun and things like that. So this current sheet is just moving through. So us for decades, and they say that it's a remnant of a past supernova. So yeah, so where did the dust come from? Maybe from a supernova at some point in time, but it's coming through regardless, and it's biblical. And you're saying, prove again to me, Joel, that micronovas can occur. This is an article from Science Breaker, and it is dated back to July 24th of 2023. They're saying as of 2018, they started to notice these types of micronovas across the cosmos. And so as we're able to detect more, we're studying them and seeing that, as I mentioned, things go from yellow to these suns, these stars go from yellow to white to red to black, and they blow. And they think it's dust. They're not exactly sure. We know it's dust in our case, but basically they call them rapid energetic bursts of light. Let's see what micronovae, which is plural of nova, and micro. They're not they're not the star completely blowing up and killing everybody off. They're just enough to scare you. And this is God's way of saying, why don't you just get on your knees and pray and thank me for all the blessings that I give you every day? Instead, people curse God. And you see that already. You know that's what's going on. So way down on the bottom right, these are so-called white dwarfs, and are remnants of sun-like stars which have shedded their envelopes, revealing their inner hot and inert cores. If these white dwarfs grow, accrete in mass, and exceed a critical limit, they will detonate and release energy in a bright explosion. That's a micronova. So this is Science Breaker proving it, and then The Atlantic talks about this. This is from 2022. The cutest thermonuclear explosion. It's not cute. When it's your own sun, it's not cute. It's going to be an effect of God and a way to wake us up. Okay. So, but this is The Atlantic. They're godless. So you would expect them to say that. Now allow me to introduce you to the new term, micronova. And so that's The Atlantic again, physics.org, reputable places. Okay. The astronomers discover micronovae, plural again, new kind of stellar explosion. The astronomers, in this case, and this is from 2022 again. So it's being reported. It's truthful. Micronovas will occur, have occurred across the cosmos, and it's going to occur here. It's occurred before, and we know that. This is break time. I'm going to take a little break and get some water. Do you have any questions or anything like that? Okay, I'll take a 30-second break, and then we'll get back into this. Yeah.
I do have a quick question.
Sure. Question.
I was trying to get myself off mute.
Sure.
How would you explain the Milky Way?
We're a galaxy. We happen to be perfectly positioned in the Milky Way to be able to see everything. So we're in the catbird seat. We can see all the little birds of planets and constellations and things like that across many universes. And so God has set us here to be able to observe these things. And so what I'm telling you as a theologian and an eschatologist is that this will give you the opportunity to see things happening and realize they're all coming from God. And keep in mind, like with Ben Davidson, he wasn't a believer. He was Jewish on his mom's side and dad's side, and raised Episcopalian. And then he started to study the cosmos, and he realized you have to have a God. You have to have a God. Now he's a strong believer, and the reason for that is that when you sit there and analyze things from our location in the Milky Way, you realize only the finger of God could create these things and could manage these things so perfectly. Everything works perfectly together. Is that your answer?
Okay, that'll help, because when you look at the starry sky, it looks milky because of all what might look like the accumulation of dust. And that's where I was.
There is dust. There is dust. Yes, there is. But there will be more coming through, and we'll see the dust moving through. It spirals, so it's very difficult to predict exactly how it's moving through. But yes, there is that level of dust already. So yes, we have had the moon has dust on it. We collect dust all the time too. So yes, the Milky Way has dust, no doubt about it. What I'm talking about is going to be dramatically more dust coming through, and just like a Swiffer duster, it will stick and accumulate and cause horrific results as a result.
Okay, and when you say the word dust, is my last thought is when you were presenting earlier, I thought we were made, and it says from the dust of the earth.
She's quoting
back in Genesis.
Yeah,
so dropped the food.
Genesis 2:7 describes how God goes to the Adama, which is the earth, and scoops up the afar, the dust, and then mixes that together with the animal soul, which is the nefesh kai. So animals are alive and they have a nefesh, and we can bond with animals based on the nefesh connections. And then he adds in his ruach, his spirit to us, which is the neshama, and that gives us that higher consciousness to deal with God. But yeah, we are made of dust, no doubt about it. So, and dust will be kind of the end of us. So yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm back on mute.
All right. So I'm going to continue on then, and I was able to get my little tea break here, which is quite helpful. So continuing on then, so this is from Ben Davidson again, that you should see these things occurring. You should see the sun kick off the CMEs. So it should have a filament erupt, and then the CME occurs, and then you'll be able to track things. And so you'll want to be aware of flares. I would recommend that you watch Ben's show. It takes 2 minutes every morning. He was action packed this morning for 2 minutes. Wow. So sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's not. So he's saying, certain levels are frightening and can cause problems, disruptions, but certain flares aren't that significant. And, just get used to what to watch for and what to be aware of. Okay, so this is from the Big Wobble. Signs and wonders. Don't panic, but something incredible is happening. Last week, NOAA, so the National Oceanographic Administration, recorded 3 more X-class flares. So more and more and more, they're breaking the record for X-class flares, which is a sign that things are breaking down. And so just get ready for next week. I think we'll have a kickoff next week. On the right-hand side, that's a picture. Ben had AI create what a micronova looks like. And that's a kill shot. I'm telling you, the first one won't be as significant. God won't take us out right away. He's going to be more patient with us. This is proof from Springer Link. Springer is a scientific journal that we are losing our F2 layer. It's collapsing. And this is dated, I'm sorry. Oh, here it is. August 13th of 2024. That's fairly current, August of 2024. Long-term trends in the height of ionospheric F2 layer peak. So basically, it's collapsing, it's shrinking. And as I mentioned, we have the South Atlantic anomaly. So basically, you can expect more of this. And so you can expect more UV coming through. You can expect more mental haze and confusion, more heart attacks, more issues. So the F2 layer has the highest density of electrons and is key importance to the systems that require the propagation of radio waves and through the ionosphere. And so this is from Daniel Edwards talking about basically leading up to the pole shift. Okay. And so on the right hand side, a lot of scientific lingo, but basically they on the bottom in the pink on the right hand side, lower right side, the results confirm a systematic decrease in the HMF2, so F2 value, which is that layer of the ozone layer. That is a significant decrease in the past 2 decades. It is found that the F2 layer height has decreased in recent years more rapidly than in earlier years. So once again, everything is increasing. Yeshua is returning. All the signs are increasing. Okay. China knows what's going on. China is well aware of what's going on, people. And so you would think, why don't we talk to them? Well, because we're angry with them all the time, and Russia too, for that matter. But China's aware because China's weather is bonkers right now. Okay. And so they're doing the research and they're saying mid-latitude auroras and energetic particle precipitation occurred unusually in a moderate magnetic storm on 1st of December 2023. So this is a long time ago. This is from AGU. And so once again, it's a nice scientific paper. So the key points: mid-latitude auroras and energetic particle precipitation are observed unusually during a moderate storm. That's a bad sign, and it's getting worse every day. Energetic proton precipitation induced by waves may contribute to mid-latitude proton aurora. So that means the auroras started at high latitudes, then mid. Now they're going down to low latitudes. It's a horrible sign because it's, once again, that means the diaper's leaking, okay? And that means you need to change your diaper, okay? So field-aligned currents emerge near at the mid-latitudes accompanied by significant magnetic perturbations. So China is aware of it. Iran is aware of it too. Iran literally tracks some of our top people in terms of earthquake prediction because we can predict earthquakes. Now, our government won't allow us to do this because they think that scares people. But the problem is you want to know. If you live in the Cascadia fault zone, you want to know when things are happening. And I have a sister that lives there. And I tell her, Beck, don't worry. I'll tell you when things are going to occur because I can predict the earthquakes, because I have access to the information. Okay, so this is from Ben Davidson again. And so I'm reading on the right-hand side, but it's an impending disaster will plague the world soon. May 2024 storms auroral outbreak matched or beat the 2003 or 1989 or 1921 or 1859 storms with 3 to 10% of the same magnitude solar events. So basically, he's saying it was like an X40 or an X80 storm, but it was only 3% of that storm that caused such a significant low latitude auroras to be spotted and seen. So, once again, everything that I talk about is observable. And God wants you to observe and prove that the Bible is true. God is real. So, as for the G4 today, that was 6/28 of 24. I challenge you to find a solar wind event on record that matches the weakness that has caused the G4 storm. Nobody predicting anything higher than the G1 for today because it was a minor storm producing a major auroral outbreak. Okay, this has been a trend for a while now. Major acceleration in March 2023, published in the April of this year, 2024, by Dr. Sergei Simonenko. He's a Russian. He's brilliant, and he's telling the truth. Now, our NASA people and our scientists are coming over to this. They can't say anything publicly because they'll lose their jobs, their retirement. Literally, their pensions are cut the moment they start talking. But they're coming over, and privately, they're texting the key people that I know that are saying, we know something horrific is occurring. I'll tell you one quick story on this. So, a scientist from a major Eastern think tank, a university, has come and flipped over to our side, and he's literally catatonic right now because he realizes he doesn't believe in God. These are God effects, and that this is all going to be an extinction level event coming up. And what do you do when you reconcile that you don't believe in God and God's acting? I don't know. So Ben Davidson on the bottom here, I have absolute mastery. He does over the solar wind database, and there's no precedent for the level of geomagnetic disturbance or auroral displays in the last 16 months when comparing solar wind density, speed, phi angle, BZ, not even close. So Ben again knows something's wrong. He's tracking it. He's our friend. Okay. So the auroras are signs of a micronova. They just are. And so you'll be noticing these jet stream changes too. Watch for more auroras, more UV, and the color of the sun, things like that. This is what's coming up. The signs of the micronova coming up. Okay. This is more on aurora. I wanted to cover a little bit of aurora, just so you're aware, on May 11th. By the way, the auroras show up about every 5.9 months. Okay, so the sun gets more active every five, and I can't remember the exact cycle. It's named after somebody, but somebody discovered, it's every 5.9 months. So we're due for that right now. Gorgeous aurora on May 11th, surprised the stargazers. Well, we're being surprised pretty much monthly. Okay, but the big ones come every 5.9 months. So one, unpredictable movement of low energy charged particles from around the equator towards the aurora. Okay. Two, charged particles that can be divided into two buckets, low energy and high energy, the latter of which can hurt humans working in space and damage electronics. Yes, it can hurt us down on the Earth, but even worse in space. The poor people that are stranded up there in the Boeing craft, they're just being bombarded. Three, changes in temperature and pressure that are likely they'll lead to swirls and vortices seen. Yes, we will have more swirls and vortices down here because you'll notice the auroras are doing well. It's the electromagnetic surges that are causing it. So when you think of an electrical storm, that's being caused by the auroras in this case. Four, changes in locations and spread of low energy particles, which can negatively impact GPS, satellites, and even electrical grid. As the aurora intensifies, you see more lights. Along with that, there's more energy entering the atmosphere. So it makes the atmosphere near the poles very hot. That starts to push air away from the poles and towards the equator. This data poses a lot of questions like, did something really different happen during this geomagnetic storm that has happened previously, or do we just have better instruments to measure the changes? I would argue both. Something has changed, but we're also measuring it better. And God's doing this to help us so that we'll say, oh, this is coming from God. So we've seen red aurora in Florida and the Caribbean Isles, but that was 1859, and that was an X40 to X80 storm. That was huge. And the storms that we've seen lately have been like X1s and X4s and things like that. Okay. So we have seen this is, I'm sorry, the date is March 28th of 2023, red aurora in Florida. Amazing. Okay. This is auroras from, well, they're citing the auroras. Well, here, red auroras descend to Florida, marking the first sighting since 2003 and 1989. And that's, once again, March 28th of 2023. So this is just documenting these auroras that are low level. Florida is so low comparatively. And so, yeah, if you're sitting in northern Canada, you're seeing this all the time. Not in Florida, people, not in the Caribbean, but we're seeing it there. Okay, so this is a scientific journal again. I'm sorry, I didn't document which journal it is. But anyway, evolution of northern auroral oval in light of modern changes in Earth's magnetic field. From August 13th of 2024, active development of the Arctic and increased intensity of navigation along the Northern Sea route and air traffic in the Arctic Ocean airspace draws attention to the problem of disruptions in transpolar radio wave propagation. They're seeing it. The guys that are studying radio waves and also electric connections. I have one buddy that used to work for large power companies up in Alaska and track the loss of energy as it would move out. Well, they're having breaks in the power now. So in high latitude regions. So if you're seeing it in Florida, you're experiencing more of it, more of this energy surge in northern Canada and in northern Europe. During the geomagnetic disturbances, ionospheric, oh goodness, I don't even know how to say that, inhomogeneities develop that interfere with the satellite positioning. So you're going to notice satellite issues. Elon's aware of this. He's preparing for this. And so he will be, in many ways, the king of the earth as we move forward because he's ready to go. No one else is really. Boeing isn't. So the position and shape of the auroras depend on the state of the magnetosphere. In this study, the component model of the auroral magnetic field has been calculated for the first time using the updated digital model of the full values of Earth's magnetic field components. So this has been estimated for the period of 1957. So basically, they're saying going forward, they're seeing changes, lower level auroras, and they're seeing changes in the magnetic field. And so it's causing more disruptions. We're also going to see more quakes. Not as many right now. They will come over time. But this is just a chart from 1957, basically going forward, of all the earthquakes. And that's pretty consistent. I mean, it hasn't changed much. It will get worse. They will be driven by the excessive electrical shocks from the sun, from the photons and protons and things like that coming from the sun. So you'll see more. And actually, the chart is from 1900, but especially from 1957. They obviously picked up during that time frame, and they're more severe now too. But if you're in the quake zone, keep that in mind as things go forward, because the earthquakes are going to be more significant going forward. Cause of quakes. Planetary alignments cause this too. So just keep in mind that if you think it's pretty to see all the planets in a line, sometimes that will cause more earthquakes. I don't know why, but okay, so think about it this way. Let's say that you're watching the tides and you're saying, oh, the moon changes the tides as it goes from waxing and waning of the moon. Well, obviously the planets have something over our tides too, and the earthquakes. So just be aware, if people are telling you that planets are going to align at some point in time, that could cause more earthquakes. And this is from June of 2024 from the Independent. And so yes, they can cause earthquakes. So the earthquakes will increase every year going forward. This happens to be West Texas, hit by 100 earthquakes in a week. And that's from 2024, July 29th. So Texas, again, 100 earthquakes in 9 days. Yep, from 2024. So you'll just see more of that. Now, this is the odd one. If you're a farmer, this is going to affect you. So this is a Colorado rancher, 37 cattle fatally struck by lightning. As you see the aurora's plasma penetrate through our magnetosphere and into our zone, our atmosphere, you will see cattle being struck by lightning. Okay, so this guy had 37 cattle struck, and they get hit and they just don't get back up. Now, if he had his own little way to shock them, he could maybe start their hearts again. But yeah, they're being shocked. And also with people. So I would recommend, if you happen to be out boating or on a cruise ship and the lightning starts hit, well, if you're on a cruise ship, and the lightning's hitting, you're just going to die. Okay. I mean, it's going to be horrific. But if you're out boating, get off the lake and, find it, get grounded. Don't be standing up when the lightning is striking, and it's going to hit more. This is a Canadian cow scorched by electric shot. This is CBC Radio Canada, and this is from April 29th of 2024. Yeah, he was perfect. The cow was drinking on another cow, and then suddenly it got shocked, and then it walked a little bit and got shocked again. The calf was laying pretty much lined up with the side of the fence post in the middle of the water puddle there, stiff as a board, and his eyes rolled back on his head. He was shocked. Okay. And so this is, I want to say this is just north of Lake Huron in Canada. So Shirley used to work the animals and do farming up in northern Montana. Well, you don't want to be a farmer in the middle of the wilderness when the electric shocks come. Okay. So once again, they're studying this. 3 electrical shocks inside the barn. It's just a time of more lightning shocks coming, and also in addition to that, so 3 dead elk from lightning strike. And what date is this? I'm sorry, I believe it's 2024 because I think I just clipped it recently. But basically, then farming and lightning safety. This is from but this is NOAA, which is a good source. And did you know that farming made up 25% of all work-related deaths in 2006 through 2020? See the flash or hear the thunder? It's time to take shelter. Shelter in a safe area, like your vehicle or in a building, because you need the lightning to be grounded, and you don't want to be the lightning rod. Okay, so this is odd. There was an earthquake in New York on about April 4th of 2024. Maybe it was April 3rd. But either way, there was an earthquake. That's an electrical connection where the plates are grinding against each other and causing an electrical shock. Okay. Well, then you can say there was a lightning strike that hit the Statue of Liberty. No. Look at it very carefully. You'll see the lightning come up and then fork up. That lightning came up from the Statue of Liberty. That's almost a sign from God saying, why don't you guys repent? Because this was Nissan 1. This was leading up to Passover. This is New York City, and the lightning is going up. This is a ground to cloud lightning that's caused from that earthquake from just a couple of days before. So it's just interesting to see it. Be aware of it. And then Jeremy Gimple, new reports have come out from the rise of Muslim American support for Hamas. 1 of 3. Why did I say this? Oh, because he also talked about the eclipses during that time frame. Yes. So I'm linking this sign of the lightning going up from ground to cloud, but also so you've got the earthquake that occurred, you've got the eclipse, you've got the Exodus 4:8. Yeah, it's just interesting to see that there's another Exodus coming, people, and it's going to be happening in Israel. So Gimple, I love him. I think he's an Orthodox Jew, but a wonderful, wonderful man. So earthquakes rocked New York and Iran. Keep in mind, Iran has many, many earthquakes, and there's a historic eclipse across America. Those are signs because those eclipses were 7 years apart, and they marked an X, which is a paleo tav. So once again, more lightning. This is Gaza. So as Gaza attacked Israel, God sent rains into Gaza and lightning that flooded out their tunnels. So just be aware of that. If you want to deny God, it's not going to work out well for you. God is telling his people to come home because he's protecting Israel. There's no doubt about it. So this is from Israel, my channel, November 19th, shocking God floods Gaza tunnels. So just keep that in mind. That's what's going to happen, and God will cause those things. This is the dipole moment, just showing you how there will be a pole shift at some point in time, and it's you can just see how oh goodness, I can't describe this properly to you. I'm sorry. I should be better at this. Basically, it just means that we can predict that the pole shift is coming based off the dipole moment. Okay, over the years. Okay, this is China again telling us about what's going on, and this is from Frontiers magazine. This study examines the behavior characteristics of geomagnetic secular acceleration pulses to enhance this is technical, the dynamic process of the Earth's core. Basically, what China is saying is that you're going to have this electrical intensification that causes the poles to shift. And so China is telling us absolutely they know the amplitude is increasing and that there will be an acceleration and that there will be a pole shift. So China's well aware of it, and they know that they're not going to end up in a good spot at the end. So this is from, I'm sorry, I thought I clipped the source. I want to say that it's Springer. Rapid geomagnetic changes inferred from Earth observations and numerical simulations. Okay, so let's see here. An increase in radiation doses to the South Atlantic region, the anomaly, is a matter of great concern as they reflect the deepening of energetic particles to the lower altitudes. It has been predicted that the steady increase in the Earth's magnetic field will continue in the near future with a westward drift of its center, and that the magnetic moment of the Earth will decrease further. Ground and satellite observations show that the rate of decrease in the magnetic field and the South Atlantic anomaly region has increased significantly in the last 50 years. So then it's going to increase and shift, and it's going to shift westerly. Okay. The positive and negative patches alternate in time, displaying a polarity reversal in the west-east direction, with the average interval of approximately 32 degrees. These characteristics can be attributed to the rapid magnetic field fluctuations disclosed by the model of stratification at the top of Earth's core. Really technical. Bottom line is it's shifting, it's morphing, and it's going to affect you. And you don't want to be in South America. One, they're already dangerously getting bombarded by UV, but also they're going to be on the South Pole. That's where they're going to end up. It's not going to be good for them. So on the right-hand side, under the abstract area, almost 100 times faster than current changes, detailed analysis of the simulations and simple analog model indicate that an extreme directional changes are associated with the movement of reversed flux across the core surface. So it just sets you up for the pole shift. It's just more evidence to prove the pole shift. And then an extreme extinction level event will occur. The pole flip, this is coming from Sergei Viktorovich Simonenko, brilliant physicist. The evidence of the cosmic energy gravitational genesis of the possible forthcoming geomagnetic reversal of the magnetic field of Earth. It's going to happen, and he's documenting it. So in the blue down below, we have shown that the objective experimental confirmation of the strong changes of the geomagnetic field on the surface of the Earth during this range can be considered to be a geomagnetic precursor of an established forthcoming intensification of global size, tectonic, volcanic, climatic, and magnetic activity of the Earth in the 21st century since 2016 AD. So what I'm telling you is the scientists are seeing it, and they're starting to talk more amongst themselves, and they realize it's all coming. These are all scientific journals, but you know what? It's good to see them. You can go back and review them and pause them. But basically, this is saying Simonenko again, the convincing cosmic energy gravitational genesis of the strongest geomagnetic anomalies of the magnetic field of the Earth from February of 2024. And basically, he's saying it's picking up, and it's going to get worse, and we're going to have a magnetic flip on the Earth. And so the ozone layer, we'll talk about that a little bit. Why is it thinning so fast? This is more scientific. The solar activity particle flux, or solar energetic particle flux, is the amount of energetic particles produced by the sun and accelerated in its vicinity. These particles can have significant impact on Earth, including ionizing radiation, which destroys our ozone layer. Okay, so it's coming from the sun. Okay, and so high fluxes of particles can increase the rate of single event upsets in spacecraft electronics. There you go. So going forward, then, I'm saying that God controls the sun and its output. So this is coming from, so they're stating here at the expose, the sun, not CO2, drives the Earth's climate, the new study says. And this is from October 3rd of 2024. It's recent history. So Nikolov suggests that all global warming observed in the past 24 years can be attributed to increased solar energy absorption due to reduced cloud cover, not rising CO2 levels. The greenhouse gases like CO2 have negligible effect on global warming compared to atmospheric pressure. So we see what the real cause is. If you have a problem with the way the Earth is and Yeshua returning, talk to God. Okay, so this is the solar cycles, and we're in a maximum right now. What I'm arguing is that we're in the sixth, and I messed it up again. We're in the sixth seal coming up during the maximum time frame, and that the fourth bowl would occur probably more after 2032, and that would be where you'll have a minimum, and more dust can stick to the sun, causing that big, micronova. Okay, so for the past 8 months, activity on the sun has steadily increased, indicating we transitioned to solar cycle 25. So this is a while back. This is NOAA reporting this. And so solar maximum is expected in July of 2025, which is about that time frame where you could have that mohair micronova, and then you could also have the plus or minus a little bit, you could have the blood moon eclipse. You've got the one in March 13th, 14th, and then the one in September. So it kind of matches up where you could have the dust sticking very lightly during a maximum of the sun. Okay, once again, this is since 1960. You can see the various cycles of the sun as it reverses polarity every 11 years. And where we thought this was going to be a low level of solar activity, no, it's been kind of busy lately. It's been the monthly value on August 24th will be 300 plus, the highest level since 1957. So we're getting there. So that's solar cycle progression. This is from NOAA, and you can go to NOAA and just find it. Type in solar cycle progression, see that. Okay, so you can verify. This is showing from 1750, which is about the time of the Maunder minimum. So you can see these phases that we go through, about every 11 years. So just so you're aware, we've seen these progressions since 1750. People have kept track of this since the 1500s because of their grape harvests and things like that in Spain and Portugal. They wanted to figure out, and Italy too, for that matter, why do the grapes grow better in certain years and lesser in certain years? Well, extra solar activity helps grapes grow better. Okay, thinning magnetosphere report from the Scientific Publishing Limited. Our magnetic field is weakening. There's no doubt anymore. There are more plasma penetrations. So this is convincing cosmic energy gravitational genesis of the strongest geomagnetic anomalies of the magnetic field of Earth. I'm sorry it's so scientific, but I have to document what I'm talking about and prove that the scientists know this is occurring. So I'm giving you tons of papers that prove, and you can pause this and go back and read each one. Basically, what you're saying is things are changing, and they are, and the scientists are documenting it. Once again, there's minimum in 2020. 2024, it's getting close to maximum, but they're predicting that it will probably occur during the summer of 2025 when we hit maximum. That makes sense. This is coming from Ben again from Suspicious Observers. And let's see here. So more sunspots equal more potential storms. When you see a sunspot number of 217, the total number of sunspots has long been known to vary with an approximately 11-year, of course. That's the sign that the sun is reversing polarity every 11 years. Repetition, known as the solar cycle, the peak of sunspot activity is known as a solar maximum, and the lull is known as a solar minimum from NOAA. And so, but we're noticing significantly more now sunspots, and because the magnetosphere is thinning, you're just noticing more auroras and then storms and other things like that. And this is from April 13th of 2023. Okay, so you'll notice more storms. This is just a report from the Watchers magazine, and they're citing in Cyprus. This is recent history too. This is November 4th of 2024. Severe storm pelts Cyprus. Then below that, Oklahoma, leaving 11, injuring 11, and leaving 95,000 without power. Sunday, November 3rd, storms and tornadoes. Okay, more storms in general. This is from November 3rd. Severe hailstorm destroys 4,500 acres of greenhouses in Spain. Okay, you've been noticing Spain. You're aware of that. Catastrophic floods in Valencia, Spain. kill 150 people. That's from October 30th. This is just recent history, but what used to be once every 4 months or 6 months is now every other day. These storms, the billion-dollar weather and climate disasters are off the Richter scale. This is the U.S. And you can pause it and freeze it later on. Basically, all these storms and all of the stuff, and poor North Carolina and poor Texas and poor Florida, and hurricanes coming through frequently. Milton, and I'm blanking on the other one. So basically, that's our future. So I want to quote from the Bible a little bit on the left-hand side. As we go into the tribulation, what is stated as they go out of the tribulation, Revelation 7:16, is you will never be hungry again. You will never be thirsty again. The sun will not, it doesn't say beat down in the text, actually. It's fall on the people. Literally, it's like UV and other aspects of the sun literally falling on us in the text, in the Greek. Nor will any burning heat. Okay, so those are the big four as we expect to go into the tribulations. And so once again, that's Revelation 7:16. Expect that. Okay, those are the big four. You will need to prepare for those big four things. The sun will fall on us. That's part of the aspect of going into tribulation. Okay, it's not just the Antichrist. Don't always concentrate on the Antichrist. God spends very little time talking about the Antichrist. He's giving us these love taps right now to encourage repentance. And so everybody jumps to the Antichrist right away, or maybe Gog for that matter. And so jump to what's happening right now, which is that the weather is getting worse. And as I stated from Duderman and Wilkerson, this is coming from God to encourage repentance. But nobody seems to, you people do, obviously, you're good, godly people. Most people don't want to repent. Okay, weather, this is the Watchers again. Severe weather warning covers the plains. Yeah, so just more of these things. Stronger tornadoes, more hail. Oh, the hail in Revelation is horrific. Damaging wind. You'll expect more wind, okay? And then Tel Aviv breaks the record. It's just too small for me to read. So this is coming from, I think this is clipped from Rapture Ready. Oh, yeah, this is just a bunch of things showing the heat index soaring, the temperature in Israel. Hospitals make emergency measures. Schools close in Bangladesh as hottest April in 75 years. So this is from 2024. But I just clipped it out of Rapture Ready. I'm to the point now where there's so many articles. I just clip swaths of the articles, not the actual article, because it's overwhelming people, okay? We're seeing 205 mile per hour gusts now. We should see Category 6 hurricanes soon. So if you live on the coastline, this is God's way of saying, get off the coastline. Sell your property now while this has a value. Get off the coastline. And so Hurricane Otis brought in 205 mile per hour gusts. That was in Houston. And this is from, wow, I didn't date it very well, but it was the spring of 2024. And that's from the Weather Channel. Magnetic field, yeah, we know that as the magnetic field weakens, that these storms will increase. Okay, it's just one equals the other. Okay, once again, 100 mile per hour winds are going to be more common. This is occurring in Donner Pass in California, and 100 inches of snow for that matter too. And then other anomalies, Luke 21, 24, and 25 talks about people being perplexed by what they see in the skies. That's what you'll see, more crazy stuff. It's a 5-fold wind increase lately. This is from NCAR, which is, and it's also found in the Weatherman's Guide to the Sun. Basically, damaging thunderstorm winds increasing in central U.S. from November 2nd of 2023. Destructive winds that flow out of thunderstorms. That's what you'll expect to see, but a 5-fold increase in this geographic area over the last 40 years. So basically expect worse winds. I've got close friends in Oklahoma. Let's just hope and pray that the storms avoid them, So now, as we move forward into the 7th seal, what you'll notice is the winds will increase, but then at some point in time, there will be silence of wind. And so this is Revelation 8, 1 through 3. And when you open the 7th seal, there was silence, that's sige in the Greek, and that literally means silence. You will have this weird time frame of silence, and that means the winds will cease as we go in. So we would know when the 7 years would start. Not only, you could say, increasing the Abrahamic covenant, but also the silence. You'll know it, you'll smell it from the incense being thrown onto the earth by that angel. So the silence in heaven for about a half an hour, that depends. In the Hebrew, it's more of a short period of time. In the Greek, it is specifically a half an hour. And I saw the seven angels who were before God standing, and were given to them seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar having the incense. And then, so he's given a huge amount of incense, and he throws that with the fire onto the earth. So basically, things are happening, that it's accelerating, and we started another acceleration in 2017, which I argue could be the start of that Shemitah. So we're ending the Shemitah right now in 2024, and we will start, I believe, a Jubilee in 2025. So that's another reason to be concerned. On the far right-hand side, Space Weather News. These are the scientists. Okay, so 3 more today. This is as of just a couple of days ago, 2-3 days ago. Ben Davidson was advertising the 3 more scientists flipped over to our side, the light side, we'll call it. That's 49 total. 49 out of 58 scientists are saying, we see it. We see Earth pole flip and other things like that accelerating. So once again, 49 of 58. Professors, NASA scientists I talked to are prepping for the magnetic pole shift that's going to happen within 20 years. They all are agreeing it's within 20 years. And they're brilliant. And they're looking at the evidence, and it makes sense. So they're starting to prep. That means you need to prep too. They're not going to take care of you. They're going to take care of themselves. The wealthy, unfortunately, you read it in the verses. The wealthy, well, actually, it's the third seal that's worse, where the wealthy just say, we've got our food. We don't care about you. And the poor are screaming out due to the inflation. And the wealthy are just going to laugh at them. And the United States is a wealthy country, and they probably won't be able to help most other people because they're kind of greedy, So basically, I'm telling you that 49 out of 58 top professors and scientists, NASA scientists, are talking about prepping for the magnetic pole shift that's going to happen within 20 years. Okay, so when to expect Earth's ELE? Once again, you'll see the Micronova, you'll see the Earth tilt, you'll see the solar system shift, the arc discharge. So literally, whatever I'm viewing, like the North Pole, wherever it is, I'll be viewing the Southern Cross within a specified amount of time. And so the catastrophe is coming. That's why I'm talking about this more. And so this is Springer Link again, August of 2024, shift in the Earth's geomagnetic pole and jerks in the geomagnetic field. So the results of an analysis of some irregularities in the series of coordinates and the shift of the geographic North Pole along Earth's surface are presented in order to establish a temporal relationship between the appearance and some global jerks in the geomagnetic field. You'll start to experience jerks, and they will become more common and more severe. So this is an article from Springer. Thank you very much, Springer, for this, telling us get ready for jerks, where things are just going to shift faster at times. And, and God will specify when they will occur. Watch your full moons. Right now, we're basically at that full moon time, okay? And just be aware, full moon generally is the time. Somebody needs to mute because they're kind of loud and I can hear them scratching on the phone. So please mute your phones. Okay. So Einstein predicted this almost 100 years ago. You need more energy to have the poles shift. So you need to unlock the crust, and that takes a surge of energy. So basically, you need more magnetics, and you need the solar to kick up. So magnetics kind of decrease, and the solar kicks up, and then observable signs. So this is Einstein again. The eclipse proved that Einstein was right, but it also proved that Einstein was right about a polar shift at some point in time. And so what signs indicate that the end times are approaching? Many people ignore that. They'll look at wars and other things like that. I'm looking at Einstein more. He knew there would be a pole shift, and it was predictable. And so the scientists are coming on board because Einstein predicted it. It will happen. So let's give you some of the verses as we move along here. This is from Isaiah 24, and that's a very deep section of Isaiah. So let me take a drink of tea before I jump into this. So if you were a Jew and you don't read Revelation and you were saying, well, I want to find out more about the end of days, your Revelation is chapters 24 through 28-ish. in Isaiah. Okay. And 24 is overwhelming. It sounds like the sixth seal. So this should sound the same to you. Okay. So he who flees at the sound of terror will fall into the pit. He who climbs up out of the pit will be caught in the trap. For the windows, that's Arubah. I mentioned that before. That's that sluice, that lattice, that floodgates. That's the same thing as early in Genesis with Noah and the flood. God opened up the Arubah, the floodgates, the lattice, the sluice of heavens to allow the water to come in. Well, these windows will open, but they'll be opened to allow the foundations to shake. The earth will crack and break open. The earth crumbles in pieces to pieces. The earth trembles and totters. The earth staggers to and fro like a drunk, sways back and forth like a watchman's shelter. Its transgression weighs heavy upon it. That is, in the Hebrew, that would be pasha. So that is a rebellious sin against God. So the rebellious sins weigh heavy upon it, and it will fall and not rise again. So that's Isaiah 24, 18 through 20. So basically, all of these things that we're talking about, the poles moving, disappearing, either on the sun or on the earth, it is predictable, it's observable, and it's in the Bible, people. So whatever you're reading is going to occur at some point in time, and the Bible predicted it. This is Mail Online. Polar flips or climate change is occurring. They know something's occurring. They're tracking it. They just don't want to say that it's God because they're godless Europeans. The Gulf Stream is on the verge of collapsing, leading to climate change, scientists warn, plunging the UK into a new ice age. Okay, the poles are shifting. The UK is moving towards the North Pole, and the Gulf Stream is collapsing, and that's caused by the aurora, not the auroras, but the solar power, the photons and protons coming in and just pounding our ozone layer, our magnetosphere. So this is October 23rd of 2024 from Mail Online again. And then millions freezing to death in months of blizzards, 3 hours of electricity a day, and gangs killing people for the last tins of food. As scientists warn, the Gulf Stream is on the brink of collapse. Christopher Stevens imagines the terrifying impact. I'm not kidding. And they're accurate on this. They don't understand what's going on, but they think that the Gulf Stream will collapse in 2025. That makes sense, people, in terms of what I'm seeing. That we start to kick into another level. As Haller stated, acceleration, convergence, and 2025 seems to be that year where it will accelerate faster. There could be these jerks that occur, and 2025 seems to be that case. Then, oh, that noise was really annoying. Well, good. At least stopped. Okay. Ben Davidson, readies for U.S. For cataclysms. So you can expect things like this during the excursion, the magnetic excursion that's occurring. We're in the midst of it right now. Direct radiation, horrible. Climate impact, biological coupling, navigational issues for birds and for other animals, that cute little penguin that ended up in Australia, technological risks. I'm citing also, in addition to that, sunburns, cancers, crop failures, interaction between the universe's expansion and the behavior of matter, animals. So that's Einstein. Einstein saw this. He saw this coming. And I'm telling you that Elon Musk is seeing it too. Animals will lose their bearings, satellites fall from the skies, but they'll pop more up. More head and body aches, more mental health issues, more auroras, more M flares, more C-class flares, more X flares, the big ones. But a Stone Age at the end. So Ben watches these flares. So once again, an X1, we're interested. We're watching it. An X5, he's very interested. An X10, I'm on alert. X15, I might be worried. X10, I'm worried. X30 plus kids are in the car. You run to a safe zone. So when you know these big flares are coming, you see them in 8 minutes, people. You experience them in 18 to 72 hours. You will need to get the kids in the car and go to a cave of some sort. Go to a safe place. So you're saying, well, I don't have a place. Well, start thinking about it now, because I'm telling you, 2025 is going to kick off the next wave of this. So start working on that. So the coming years, the 2040s pole shift, which could be 2030s. Magnetic field decreases, increased impact of solar energy and cosmic rays, jet streams, volatility, climate extremes, record highs, droughts, records highs and lows, drought, snowstorms, mental health issues, and prepping. You're leading up to World War III. What I'm telling you is right after the fourth bowl, which is that ELE thing, then we will be setting up for Gog. That's why Gog comes across in Ezekiel 38, 39 with horses, because all electronics will be knocked out. Now, the unfortunate thing is that the cars and the electronics and things like that will be knocked out, so horses will be needed for warfare. But on the other hand, what you'll notice is that Gog is a situation where the nukes will be flying. And so the nukes are all underground, by and large, or they could be underground. So the nukes will survive. So basically, we'll have two different types of warfare: horses and nukes. And you'll see both. Okay. And that's how Revelation 19 works out and Ezekiel 38, 39, that Gog war. That's World War III. And that's at the tail end after the fourth bowl. So you've seen the progression through, about 6, 7 years after the sixth seal, you'll see that bowl open up, and you'll see, it'll be rather interesting to see then the extinction level event, that huge micronova that would occur with the sixth or the fourth bowl, and then Gog will be prepared by that point in time and marching towards Israel and marching against God, and God will win. But you're part of that history. You're born for such a time as this. So what's important to you? Plan to be ready and mobile. You're not going to be staying in one place. You're going to have to pop around back and forth, at least inside and outside of your cave, and maybe to other locations. Because, as I said, if I end up in the 45th parallel south, how am I going to survive as I move south that dramatically? So find a cave, a safe cave, and stock it up. Eclipse. During the eclipse, you'll camp outside the cave, and you'll know because you'll see the sun changing colors and the 3 days of darkness, where blackness. Camp outside the cave, wait for the earthquake, watch the black sun for brilliant signs of the micronova, observe the lunar eclipse coinciding with that, run inside the cave, watch the fig-like, then come back out, watch the fig-like meteorite shower outside the cave because of aftershocks. You don't want to be in the cave during the aftershocks. And then 6 years later, prepare for the full micronova. And the globalists are preparing. So we'll go into that. The globalists have been predicting this. Look at this. This is from The Economist, and it's a magazine from a long time ago, The World Ahead in 2024. They're talking about time running out. They're talking about, Putin fighting against Zelensky, but also the potential for nukes and satellites and other things like that. And then the eclipses. Look in the midsection of each one. All the ballots too. That's interesting. But look for the fact that they show various types of lunar and solar eclipses occurring. They know, okay, the globalists know Revelation 6:12 through 17, probably better than me. The Satan knows the Bible better than me. I know it pretty well, and Doug Hemp knows it better than me, but Satan knows it better than both of us combined. So what I want to say to you is you're going to see the globalists know what's coming. Albert Pike or whatever I'm citing for, these elitists, they know what's coming up and they're predicting it. They're literally laughing at us as they publish things like this. Okay. So they're manipulating us. This is Berkeley News, which is saying Earth's magnetic field could flip within a human lifetime. So when Berkeley News is saying this, and you can't blame it on us, I mean, this is coming from God, but, so you've got the scientists on my side, but you've got the children on the other side. She's a child, not a scientist, repeats propaganda she's been fed. And then actually, Lisa, Satan has some pretty good insight. He's brilliant. He has seen the face of God. No one else can claim that. Okay. Yeah. So who's the hoax? We know. Even Berkeley knows something's happening, this polar shift. So what are the billionaires going to do? The Bible tells us they're going to go underground. The Bible warns us, and they're already doing it. The least intelligent billionaire is Mark Zuckerberg, who built out on one of the far Maui islands of Hawaii, Maui itself, and he built a bunker. When the slosh effect, so I'm holding a cup in my hand right now, I'm going to take a drink, and I'm sloshing it back and forth. Well, that's what's going to happen to him, and he's going to be underwater because of the slosh effect. So Zuckerberg is a fool, but he doesn't believe in God. So what do you expect? So the main thing is they're building the bunkers, they're building them more, and they know what's coming. Even if it's just civil war, they know that. But every predictor out there, pundit and prophet, is saying civil war is coming. Not every, but most of them. All right, I'll tell you the people that aren't doing this. The Elijah's list. They're the Seven Mountains people, the NAR, New Apostolic Reformation. Cindy Jacobs just came out on Sunday and said, no, 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 no. There will be no civil war. Trump is going to be our king and we're going to worship him. Now, I'm misquoting her on purpose, but that's what they will do. They will worship Trump and think that Trump will align the stars for them. No, the Antichrist is coming. The beast system is coming. It's being built. I can prove that to you. So if I haven't frightened you enough and you invite me back, I can cover Revelation 17 for you in the Hebrew and the Greek. And we can kind of go through where things are going, because we're about 18 months away from the beast system being operational. Technology is exploding. You realize that I'm not a pre-trib rapture person, but I do watch Haller when he has his shows, and he has his pre-trib guys on with him, and they're brilliant guys. They're tech guys. All of them are depressed after each show. Why? Because they know it's coming. There's no way to stop it now. And so the bottom line is they get more depressed because the pre-trib rapture isn't working. That theory is dying every day with all the signs that are occurring and all the other things. And they're not being whooshed out of here during the rapture right now when they would expect it to be. And also some people are saying we are in the Great Tribulation. We're not. We're not. We're close, but we're not in. And so they realize their theories are failing every day. And so this is another guy, Steve Slesovich, elites building bunkers. Yeah, absolutely. They are preparing for the sixth seal. Somehow they know what's going on. They know the system is going down. They need to prep and be ready for what's occurring. Surviving in remote and off-grid areas with limited resources, and trusting God. So Mike Adams believes in God. It's just that he doesn't like Jews. And I'm part Jewish, and I bless the Jews pretty much daily. Bless God and bless Jews. And God and the Jews are going to win out in the end, especially during Gog Magog. Oh, I already showed you this. I'm sorry, I didn't know that I doubled it up. So Zuckerberg, once again, slosh dynamics. When the pool shakes back and forth, the water spill out all over the place. So Zuckerberg is building a horrible compound, $100 million, and it's a burial plot, So just keep that in mind. Don't be stupid. If you build up in the Colorado mountains, you'll survive. Safe zones in America pretty much are Colorado mountains, certain regions in that area, possibly parts of Minnesota, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, just because we're in the middle of the mountain ranges. It looks like Cleveland, Tennessee will survive, so Perry Stone seemed to win on that. Parts of the Appalachian Mountains in general, some of the West Virginia mountains are going to make it, as long as you've got mountains between you and the ocean, because you will have slosh dynamics. So if you're on a coastline, you'll die. I guarantee it. Within the next decade or so, you'll just die. If you're in the mountains, you'll probably make it. Corey ten Boom said why am I blanking on the Missouri range of mountains? That is a safe zone. She saw that from a plane. She predicted that the Ozarks are a safe zone. So, and we all love Corey ten Boom. Okay, the other thing that's coming, which is interesting because we know the signs are going to be huge. As I stated, Luke 21:26 says, as people faint with fear at the prospect of what is overtaking the world, for the powers in heaven will be shaken. Okay, so in this case, Apophis, which is an Egyptian god, Apep, ancient Egyptian god of chaos. Isn't that appropriate? They always name it after some ancient god of chaos, whether Babylonian or Egyptian. And it could destroy a city. It'll be the size of the Empire State Building, and it will be landing, or it won't hit us, but it'll frighten us. April 13th of 2029. That fits in that cycle that I've been stating, that 2025 through 2033 cycle. So I don't know when things are going to kick off, but I see things intensifying and converging. So we'll have a flyby, but it could be at satellite height for us. Okay, so when you're seeing the satellites at night, then you'll see this plane pinball against the satellites as it comes through in 2029. So that's just an interesting time coming up. And so you will have more frights going along. So you'll have bigger auroras, bigger heart attacks, space weather, and hypertension crises in high latitudes. So just keep that in mind. They're tracking it. This is MDPEI. This is scientific, and they know hypermagnetic conditions and their biological action, heart attacks, strokes, other things like that. It's just coming. Get prepared for it. Protect yourself. Buy yourself a nice lead blanket of some sort that will ground you, and climb underneath that in your basement, and you'll have less pain and less heart attacks. They also know that as you get out into space travel, like going to Mars, that's ridiculous. You will have more heart issues. Space travel, this is recent. This is like the last couple of days. Here it is, August 19th of 2024, MDPI, space travel, radiation, microgravity effects on the cardiovascular system. It just destroys us. So we need to stay on the planet. Accordingly, heaven is going to come to our planet at some point in time, and we will live here. We can't live out in space, guys. So Elon is wrong with that. I think he's building that as a way to escape, and you don't want to escape because it's going to be worse in space than here. So just keep that in mind. And keep in mind also groundwater. It's going to be more scarce. As I mentioned, the big four in Revelation 7:16 are, the sun falling on us, the heat caused from the sun, but then food and water. Water is going to be huge. And you see the progression through the seals to the bolt, to the trumpets, the bowls, that the fresh water will become very, very scarce. So make sure that wherever you want to hole up and be safe, your safe zone, that you've got access to water. They're falling at alarming rates around the world. You don't want to be in Las Vegas when these things kick off. So once again, I cited the big things, the big four: hungry, thirsty, sun will not fall on them, or burning heat, Revelation 7:16. Revelation 16:4. The third one poured out his bowl on the rivers and the springs of water, and they turned to blood. Okay, so that's the rivers and the springs. But then eventually the sixth one poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and the water dried up. So things are going to happen, and water will be critical. You know what you need. You need Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and something to protect your head, some air to breathe, some water, some food, things like that. Air first, obviously. So these things will be progressively worse, and things are being opened up. So be aware that prophetic people are going to prophesy. Some of them are false prophets. Be very aware of how evil they will be. But also, there will be some good people speaking. I generally say 2 out of 100 are giving you real prophecies. Okay. And I'm trying to cull from the best of the best. I cull from Wilkerson and Dudeman, and I trust Rebecca Sterling. She was highly accurate. Now, some of her personal observations are wrong, but what she saw was highly accurate so far with the players. So basically, we know that there's the sealing up time frame in Daniel 12, but then there's the opening in Revelation 22 of these seals. And so we should be talking about this, and we get a special blessing for reading Revelation. So then there's the sealing of the 144,000, and that seems to occur after the sixth seal in my eschatology. So you have to have a seal of God on your forehead, or you will be annihilated in Revelation 9. So whatever that seal of God is, you want it. I believe it's spirit and truth. So once again, the auroras they were rare, they're becoming more common. The low latitude auroras so far, dating backward, 2003, a surge, 2001, a surge, 1991, a surge, 1989, 1972, 1921, 1903. They come in waves. So it's 5 times with these surges and these storms, but now they're picking up very rapidly. So, and they're in the southern zones. So major events, record low latitudes, we've covered that pretty much. Excursion is progressing. Auroral record broken. Yep, no major solar activity, but still the records are being broken. Earth's more vulnerable due to weaker magnetic field. Full magnetic flip expected. Sun may take out global power before then. Yep. So predictions. This is from Ben Davidson again. If I told you all these things were connected: rise of transculture, wars, threats of wars, economic strife, climate change discourse, cancel culture, censorship, satanic symbolism everywhere, Earth's magnetic pole shift. The dipole moment has decreased of 30%, meaning allow for reversal. So basically, he's citing the dipole again. So All of these things are leading into what you're seeing in the culture, the wars, the economy. The leaders of the world know what I'm talking about, and they are planning for this to occur. And so all of these weird things occurring in the world today seem to be related to Revelation. So, what to expect as we move forward? The first horseman, again, as I state, is Western civilization falling. Whether you agree with me or disagree, I'm stating that it started on 6/6 of 1967, 6667, during the 6 Day War in Israel, when they handed back the Temple Mount, which was stupid. When God gives you a gift, take it and say thank you. So Western civilization has fallen. Most of us that are older remember better times in the 60s before the hell that we're experiencing today. And the second horse, I'm seeing that's Pete snatched, and that is in the text itself. And I'm blaming the Bush family for that and the Cheneys. Third, hyperinflation. That should have opened in 2012. And we are experiencing more inflation, no doubt about it. It's hyper. The fourth horseman is the death of 2 billion people due to 4 plagues. Rhamphea in the Greek, which is invasions, crop failures, which is limo in the Greek, which we're experiencing, cancers or deaths in general. It's called thanatos, which is death. And it's just rapid death, if that makes sense. And then biological warfare is the fourth one. That is therion in the Greek. So the Greek matches up with what you're experiencing worldwide. And I'm telling you, the peak death should hit by 2026. Fifth seal is believers slaughtered. That's martyrdom. That's starting to happen, especially in Africa. Sixth seal, cosmological signs. We've talked about it. I'm telling you that on 3/13 of 2025, the clock restarts. Seventh seal is silence and no winds and a smell from heaven. Asteroids come after that, and things start falling out of the sky after that seventh seal. And then about 7 years later, 6 years, pole shift and World War III and Gog Magog. So we'll end it up with some verses here. This is from Joel 2:28 to match up with what we've read in Isaiah 24 and Revelation 6. After this, I will pour out my spirit on all humanity. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions, and also on male and female slaves in those days I will pour out my spirit. That's expected, people. That should happen. I will show wonders in the sky and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. That sounds like Luke 21:25. The sun will be turned to darkness, that's the Micronova, and the moon to blood, that's the eclipse, before the coming of the great and terrible day of Adonai. At that time, whoever calls on the name of Adonai will be saved. From Mount Zion in Jerusalem, there will be those who escape, as Adonai has promised. Among the survivors will be those whom Adonai has called. Joel 2:28 through 32. Coming. So where are we in this? We're in the birth pangs. We're moving through, and I believe that we could start to see some bigger signs in the next 9 years. So then we would hit eventually the tribulation and then the great tribulation. And the two witnesses, I think, would appear before we go into the tribulation, but we're not exactly sure. This is from the Burning Platform. You need to find people you can trust and make plans to help each other out through the coming winter of death. Being a loner during the fourth turning is not ideal. They're correct. So you need to work on you and your family. There will be a wedding coming up, and it's going to occur probably on a fall festival. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot of some future year. If you're naked, you'll be thrown out. If you're wearing dirty garments, you'll be thrown out. You have to have clean garments. That is doing something godly during this time frame, getting prepared for the wedding. And that's about it for right now. I'm going to pause the recording because I've been going for like 10 years, 2 hours and 13 minutes. And we'll ask questions from the people that are on with me through YouTube. This will be ending. Thank you. God bless all of you for watching, and those that will be joining later on. And away we go. Thank you. Bye. End stream.